The call came in at 11:47 p.m. Leo's third candle report that week. He set down his coffee at the Circle K and keyed his radio. Unit 12 en route to Sawgrass Road. 3 months in Palmetto County and the abandoned church had become his recurring headache. He'd transferred from Miami-Dade for quiet cattle crossings and DUIs, not whatever this was. The drive took 18 minutes through darkness thick as velvet. Spanish moss draped the road like funeral shrouds. His GPS died 2 miles out, same as always. Some quirk of the terrain, Carter had said with a shrug that felt deliberately uninformative. Leo parked 30 yards from the church, a white clapboard structure with a crooked steeple. He approached with his mag light, checking the perimeter. Front door locked, padlock secure. Windows sealed tight. No signs of forced entry. Inside, 13 white candles burned on the altar. He circled the building twice. No footprints in the soft earth. No tire tracks but his own. The flames danced behind dirty glass, impossible and constant. Unit 12 to dispatch. Building secure. No entry points compromised. Candles confirmed inside locked structure. Copy that, Unit 12. Same as Tuesday. Affirmative. He photographed the scene. Procedure Carter insisted on, though the pictures never quite captured what his eyes saw. Returning to patrol. The shift ended at 7 a.m. Leo wrote his report, added it to Carter's growing file, and went home to sleep through the brutal Florida heat. His phone woke him at 9:34 p.m. Ramirez. "Leo, it's Carter." The sheriff's voice carried an edge he'd never heard. "Respond to Sawgrass Church," neighbor called in screaming. "Sounds like a full congregation." Leo was already moving. "The place is locked. We confirmed that this morning." "I know what we confirmed." A pause heavy with unspoken weight. "Stay in your vehicle. Do not approach anyone you see. Call me immediately. Understood?" Something in Carter's tone killed his questions. "Yes, sir. I'm 20 minutes out. Wait for me." The drive felt different, hostile. His headlights seemed weaker, unable to penetrate the tree line. He heard it before he saw the church. Singing, not recorded, but dozens of voices raised in hymn. Words English, but pronunciations wrong, elongated. The melody crawled under his skin. Every window blazed with light. Silhouettes swayed in unison, arms raised. The singing poured from the building impossibly loud for a place with no electricity. Leo stopped 50 yards back, engine running. Unit 12 to Sheriff Carter. Multiple apparent occupants. Building appears active. "Do you see people outside?" "Negative. All movement visible through windows. Stay in your vehicle. 15 minutes. But Leo was already unbuckling. This was his job. Investigate. Ensure safety. If there were squatters or teenagers, he needed to. The singing stopped. Total silence. Even the crickets ceased. The silhouettes in every window turned as one to face him. His hand froze on the door handle. Carter's voice crackled. "Leo, report." They stopped singing. "They're all looking at me. Are the doors closed?" Leo forced himself to check. The heavy wooden door remained shut. Padlock visible. Affirmative. "Keep your vehicle running and watch that door. If it opens, if they come outside, do not look at their faces. Do not make eye contact." "Sheriff, what?" The door swung open. No sound, no rattle of locks, just darkness beyond, despite the light moments before. The silhouettes filed out in orderly procession, dressed for Sunday service. Women in floral dresses, men in decades-old suits, moving with synchronized grace. Doors open. They're coming out. How many? Leo tried counting, but they kept coming. 20, maybe more, walking toward me. "Put the car in reverse. Don't turn around. Back up slowly. Keep them in view, but don't look at their faces." Leo's training said, "Stay. Identify. Assess." But his hand moved to the gear shift anyway, responding to the terror in Carter's voice. He shifted into reverse. The procession matched his pace exactly, making no sound despite their dress shoes on dirt. The closest, a woman in yellow floral, was 30 yards away. His headlights showed her from the waist down. Patent leather shoes, pale stockings, hemline at mid-calf. Backing up. They're keeping pace. Don't stop until you hit the cattail marsh boundary. The road gets wet, 25 yards. He could see details now. A man in a brown suit with thin 1950s lapels. a woman carrying a bleached white Bible. They moved with funeral procession precision. 15 yards. They're getting close. Almost there. Hold steady. The woman in yellow was close enough now that he could see a cameo brooch at her collar. Close enough that if he just looked up, he could see her face. Click. His driver's door handle moved, pressing down, though nothing was visible through the window. The lock held, then the passenger side, back doors, all clicking in sequence, something invisible testing every entry point. They're trying my doors. Don't look at the windows. Eyes forward, keep reversing. The clicking stopped. The figures in his headlights stood motionless, blocking the road but not following. The woman in yellow stepped aside, creating a gap. Beyond it, a figure stood in the church doorway, taller, more substantial. Black suit, white collar, pastor's vestments. Though Leo couldn't see his face, he felt the weight of attention like pressure against his chest. The pastor raised one hand. Deputy Ramirez. Multiple voices spoke in unison, layered and wrong. "We've been expecting you." Leo's foot hit the brake. "Don't stop," Carter shouted. "Do not respond. Reverse now. We know why you came to Palmetto County. The child you couldn't save in Miami. We could help you forget. We could give you peace. Just come inside." That case file was sealed. No one here should know about the girl, the shooting review, the nightmares. Leo. Carter's voice. "Check your mirror. What do you see?" Leo's eyes flicked to the rear view. The woman in yellow stood 3 feet from his bumper, perfectly framed. Her face. He slammed his eyes shut. 2 large eyes, 2 wide smile, waxy preserved skin, mouthing words. He almost understood. Eyes closed. Keep reversing blind. Trust the road. Leo kept his foot on the gas. Eyes shut. Reversing through darkness. Against every instinct, the car bumped over ruts, branches scraping like fingernails. "You can't run far enough." The pastor's voice followed. "We're in the land, the water, the wind. You'll come eventually." They all do. The car shuddered. Splash and suck of tires through water. The smell changed to rich organic rot of wetland. 100 yards. Carter guided. 90, 80. The singing returned, discordant and angry, rising until silence. "Stop. Open your eyes." Leo obeyed. His patrol car sat in 2 inches of water, cattails rising like sentinels. His headlights pointed back at empty road. The church was barely visible, just its steeple catching moonlight. No figures, no lights, as if nothing had happened. "Meet me at the station." Carter was waiting with coffee. He looked older than his 60 years. Lines deep carved. He gestured Leo to sit. "First time's always worst," Carter said. "What you experienced is part of your duties here." What the hell was that? Carter pulled a thick file from his drawer. Sawgrass Road, restricted, stamped in red. August 24th, 1992. Hurricane Andrew. Pastor Miguel Alvarez opened the church as emergency shelter. 47 people took refuge. Families, elderly folks, good people. Carter's jaw worked. Storm hit around 9 p.m. My father checked the shelter at midnight. Door was padlocked from outside. Standard procedure. No one answered. No lights, no sounds. They weren't there. They were there. 47 checked in. But when my father forced entry next morning, he tapped the report. Empty. Not a soul. Just 13 candles burning on the altar. Leo stared at the photograph. The same 13 candles he'd seen tonight. For 33 years. They searched for weeks. 47 people don't vanish. But no trace. No bodies. No evidence. The door had been locked from outside the entire time. Physically impossible for them to leave. What happened? They're still there. Carter met his eyes. Every month, someone reports lights. We respond, document, make sure no living person is in danger, and we follow protocols. He pulled out a typed page. The Sawgrass Protocols. Do not approach the church between sunset and sunrise. If you see people in Sunday clothing, do not make eye contact. If your vehicle fails within 1 mile, abandon it immediately. If you hear singing or your name, do not respond. It isn't them. The church doors are always locked. If you find them open, do not enter. If someone reports seeing a dead loved one, file, but don't investigate. Leo read twice. This is insane. This is survival. My father wrote this after losing 2 deputies the first year. We see them sometimes in the windows, still in uniform. That pastor knew about Miami. That file is sealed. It knows things, memories, secrets. That's how it gets people. Offers what they need. Carter shook his head. Once you start listening, it has you. The Cattail Marsh boundary. Old Seminole burial ground. Church was built in 1952, right at the edge. Whatever's in there can't cross running water. As long as we maintain the boundary, follow protocols. It stays contained. Carter slid a form across. Sign this. Acknowledge the special circumstances. Agree to follow protocols, or I'll write you a recommendation for transfer. No judgment. Leo thought about Miami's chaos. The girl he hadn't saved. The quiet he'd sought. Then he thought about the pastor's voice promising peace. He signed. Carter handed him a protocol copy. Keep this in your vehicle. Clip it to your visor. If anything changes, call me day or night. Yes, sir. Go home. Get sleep. Tomorrow we'll cover history and warning signs. Tonight, you survived your first real call. That's worth something. At the door, Leo paused. Those 47 people. No. Carter's voice was gentle but final. They're gone. What's wearing their shapes isn't them. Best we can do is make sure that number doesn't become 48. Leo drove home through empty roads. The cold settled in his chest, a new understanding that couldn't be unlearned. Inside, he went through normalcy's motions, but found himself staring at the ceiling, listening to ordinary Florida night sound. All of it felt thinner now, like a stage set, hiding something vast and hungry. He thought about the protocol sheet in his car. 7 rules between his deputies and whatever waited in that church. Leo closed his eyes, but sleep was long coming. When it arrived, he dreamed of yellow floral dresses and hands testing door handles in darkness, always testing, looking for a way in. The next morning, he clipped the protocol sheet to his visor where it would stay, a tangible weight of the unknown, now part of his daily routine. Outside his window, the ordinary Florida dawn felt like a thin veneer over something patient and old. 3 weeks had passed since Leo clipped the protocol sheet to his visor. 3 weeks of checking it before every shift, the laminated paper catching streetlight as he drove the county roads. 3 weeks of taking the long way around Sawgrass Road when possible. Though Carter had made it clear avoidance wasn't an option, someone had to maintain surveillance, had to document the patterns. The candles appeared every 4 to 5 days now, always 13, always burning in that locked church. Leo had stopped trying to rationalize it. Some truths in Palmetto County didn't bend to logic. The call came in at 10:23 p.m. on a Friday. Dispatch's voice crackling through with routine professionalism. Unit 12, we have a motorist assist on County Road 78, approximately half-mile south of Sawgrass intersection. Female caller reports vehicle breakdown, requesting assistance. Leo's hand hesitated over the radio. Half-mile south, not at the church, but close enough that the protocol sheet seemed to whisper from his visor. He keyed the mic. Unit 12, copy en route. Can you confirm exact location? Caller states she's near the old Jensen farm gate. Vehicle is a blue Honda Civic, the Jensen farm. Leo knew it. Abandoned property that bordered the wetlands. Its fields gone to sawgrass and palmetto scrub. Close to the marsh boundary, but not across it. Still, his gut tightened as he turned his patrol car south. The drive took 12 minutes. Leo watched the odometer, tracking distance. The protocol was specific. If your vehicle fails within 1 mile of the church, abandon it immediately. He was responding to someone else's failure, but the same logic applied. As he approached, he radioed his position. Unit 12 on scene at Jensen Farm Gate. The Honda sat at an angle on the shoulder, hazards blinking weakly. A woman stood beside it, illuminated by his headlights. Mid-20s, wearing scrubs printed with cartoon character. A nurse, Leo guessed, probably coming off a shift at County General. She raised a hand to shield her eyes from his high beams as he pulled up behind her, maintaining a 20-foot gap. Leo killed the engine but left his lights on, flooding the scene. Standard procedure, but also something more. Light felt important out here, a barrier against the dark that pressed in from the sawgrass. He checked his visor, the protocols catching his eye. If your vehicle fails within 1 mile of the church, abandon it immediately. He grabbed his flashlight and approached, every sense hyper alert. Evening, ma'am. I'm Deputy Ramirez. You called about a breakdown. She nodded, relief evident in her shoulders dropping. Jessica Reyes, thank God you're here. My car just died. All the lights, everything. I was driving home from my shift and it just stopped. She gestured helplessly at the Honda. I tried jumping it with the portable battery I keep, but nothing. No clicks, no sounds, like it's completely dead. Leo circled the vehicle, his mag light beam tracking across the hood, the tires, the ground beneath. No fluid leaks, no obvious damage. The hazard lights were still blinking, which meant the battery had some charge. He knelt beside the driver's door, noting the keys still in the ignition. Mind if I try starting it? Please. Jessica stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself despite the humid warmth. Leo slid into the driver's seat, turned the key. Nothing. Not even a click or whine from the starter. He tried the radio, the interior lights. Everything electrical was dead except those hazards which continued their rhythmic pulse. Wrong. This was wrong. He'd worked enough traffic details to know car failures, and they didn't behave like this. Selective electrical death, while the hazards still functioned, violated every mechanical principle he knew. He stepped out, his instincts screaming. How long have you been here? Maybe 15 minutes. I called 911 right away. Jessica hugged herself tighter. It's just so dark out here. I kept hearing. She stopped, shook her head. Never mind, I'm just spooked. Hearing what? She laughed, embarrassed. I know it sounds crazy, but I thought I heard singing, like church singing. You know, hymns. But there's nothing out here except farms. And her eyes widened slightly. Oh God, is this near that church? The one everyone talks about? Leo's hand drifted to his radio. What do people say about the church? Just that it's weird. Haunted, maybe. The older nurses won't talk about it, but some of the younger staff say people vanished there back in the 90s. She glanced toward the tree line where the darkness seemed absolute. I didn't realize I was this close to it. You're about 3/4 of a mile away. Leo made his decision. Ma'am, I'm going to call for a tow, but I need you to come sit in my patrol car while we wait. It's warmer and the fog rolled in, not gradually the way fog should. One moment, the night was clear. Sawgrass visible in the wash of headlights. The next, white tendrils curled across the road, thick and low, moving against the slight breeze. Wrong direction, wrong density, wrong everything. What the hell? Jessica's voice pitched higher. Leo grabbed her arm, not gently. Get in my patrol car now. But she wasn't moving. She was staring past his shoulder toward the tree line where the fog was thickest. Do you see them? Leo forced himself not to turn. Protocol 2 flashed in his mind. If you see people in Sunday clothing, do not make eye contact, speak to them, or ask them to identify themselves. Jessica, look at me. He positioned himself between her and whatever she was seeing. Look only at me. Don't look past me. Don't acknowledge anything you see. Do you understand? Her eyes were too wide, reflecting his flashlight. There are people on the road. They're dressed like they're going to church. Why are they? They're not real. The words came out harsh. They're not people you want to talk to. Trust me on this. From behind him, a sound rose. Voices in harmony singing a hymn Leo didn't recognize. The words were English, but the melody felt ancient, wrong, like something translated poorly from a language that human throats weren't meant to produce. The fog thickened, carrying with it the smell of old flowers and damp wood, and something underneath that was rot and sweetness combined. Jessica's breathing quickened toward hyperventilation. This isn't happening. This isn't... It is happening, and we're going to handle it. Leo keyed his radio with his free hand. Unit 12 to Sheriff Carter. I need immediate backup at Jensen Farm Gate. I have a civilian in proximity to a sawgrass situation. Repeat, civilian in proximity. Carter's response was instant. Leo, status of the entities. Are they advancing? Leo risked a glance over his shoulder. His breath caught. 15 figures stood in the fog, perhaps 30 yards back. Men in dark suits and thin ties. Women in floral dresses and modest heels, all facing him and Jessica, all perfectly still except for their mouths, which moved in synchronized song. The woman in yellow floral stood at the front, and even though Leo kept his gaze below her neck, he could feel her smile. They're stationary but present. Civilian has visual contact. Distance to your vehicle? Leo measured with his eyes. 20 feet. Might as well be 20 miles. 20 feet? But I've got fog manifestation. Visibility is compromised. Listen carefully. Carter's voice held the same quality it had during Leo's first encounter. Controlled terror masquerading as calm. You need to get her to your vehicle. Walk backward. Keep her in front of you. Do not let her turn around. Do not let her stop walking. If she does, the compulsion will take hold. Copy. Leo tightened his grip on Jessica's arm. Jessica, we're going to walk backward to my car. I need you to keep your eyes on my face. Not on them, not on the fog, just me. Can you do that? She nodded, but her gaze kept slipping past him. Hey, Leo snapped his fingers in front of her face. Focus my face. Nothing else. They started moving. Slow steps in reverse. Leo counted them mentally. 18 feet. 16. The singing continued, but underneath it now he heard something else. Voices speaking, layered and multiple like the pastor's had been. Deputy Ramirez. The words came from everywhere and nowhere. You brought us a new friend. How thoughtful. Don't respond. Protocol 4. She's so tired, Jessica. Long shifts at the hospital, feet aching, back sore. We could give her rest, peace. She'd never have to work another double shift. Jessica's steps faltered. How do they know my name? How do they keep moving? Leo pulled her along. 12 feet. They don't know anything. They're reading us, that's all. Like cold readers, like psychics. Keep walking. But they said Jessica Maria Reyes. The voices spoke in unison now. Born in Tampa, moved to Palmetto County 2 years ago. Your mother calls every Sunday. You never answer because you're working. You feel guilty about that. We understand guilt. We can take it away. Oh, God. Jessica's voice broke. That's true. All of that's true. How? Leo, you remember your father, don't you? The voice shifted, became conversational, almost gentle. Miguel Ramirez died when you were 12. Heart attack in the garage while working on that Chevy. You found him. You tried CPR like you'd seen on TV, but you didn't know how. You never forgave yourself for that. Leo's hands went cold. His father's name hadn't been in any case file. That memory was his alone, locked away in the places he didn't examine even at 3 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come. You had a dog named Cisco. The voice continued, relentless. Collie Shepherd mix, hit by a car when you were 8. You were supposed to close the gate, but you forgot. You watched him die in the street. So much death, Leo. So much guilt you carry. We could help you forget. We could give you the peace you've been seeking since Miami. 8 feet to the patrol car. Jessica was crying now, still walking, but barely. Make them stop. Please make them stop. Almost there. Leo's own voice sounded distant to his ears. How did they know about Cisco? About his father? These were memories he'd shared with no one, written in no files, existed only in his own head, because we're in there with you, Leo. The voice answered his unspoken thought. We've been in there since you first came to the church. Don't you feel us in the quiet moments when you're falling asleep? We're there. We're always there. 5 feet. The figures in the fog began to move, gliding forward without walking, closing the distance. The woman in yellow led them, her dress swaying though no breeze moved the air. Leo could see her hands now, waxy and too smooth, reaching toward them in invitation or demand. Get in the car. Leo yanked the back door open, shoved Jessica inside. Down on the floor, hands over your ears. Don't look up. He rounded to the driver's side, every instinct screaming to run, to flee, to gun the engine and never look back. But protocol existed for a reason. He forced himself to follow it. He slid into the driver's seat, started the engine, thank God it turned over, and shifted into reverse. The protocol sheet fluttered on his visor. The floral dress woman appears. Leo closes his eyes and reverses blind. Not yet. He could still see the road, still navigate. He backed up, watching the figures in his headlights. They kept pace, matching his speed exactly, their song rising in volume until it rattled the windows. 20 yards, 40, 60. Then the woman in yellow appeared directly behind his car, visible in the rearview mirror. Her face filled the glass. Too wide smile, too large eyes, skin like melted wax smoothed over bone. Her mouth moved, forming words he couldn't hear but understood in some deep, primal way. Come back. Come home. Come to us, Leo. Close your eyes. Carter's voice crackled through the radio. Close them now and keep reversing. You're almost to the boundary. Leo slammed his eyes shut. The world reduced to sound and sensation. The rumble of the engine, the bump of tires over uneven pavement, Jessica sobbing from the back seat, and above it all, that singing, that terrible, beautiful hymn that promised everything he'd ever wanted if he just opened his eyes and looked. His hands gripped the wheel. He kept his foot steady on the gas. Trust the protocol. Trust the road. The singing reached a crescendo, then cut off like a switch flipped. The silence was absolute. Leo, stop the car. You're safe. He opened his eyes. His patrol car sat in standing water, cattails rising on either side. The fog was gone. The figures were gone. The road ahead stretched empty and dark. Behind them, maybe a quarter-mile back, Jessica's Honda sat on the shoulder with its hazards still blinking. In the back seat, Jessica uncurled slowly. What? What were those things? Leo met her eyes in the rearview mirror. Something that used to be people a long time ago. He keyed his radio. Unit 12 to dispatch. I need a tow for a vehicle at Jensen Farm Gate, and I'm transporting a civilian to the station for a welfare check. The drive back to town took 20 minutes. Jessica sat in silence, staring at her hands. Leo didn't push. Carter would handle the briefing, the warnings about intrusive thoughts, the careful explanation that would sound insane, but was somehow true. At the station, Carter was waiting on the steps, 2 cups of coffee in hand. He took one look at Jessica's face and nodded. Come inside, Ms. Reyes. Let's talk. 3 hours later, after the statements were filed and Jessica had left with Carter's card and strict instructions to call if she experienced nightmares or heard singing, Leo sat alone in the break room. His hand still shook slightly when he lifted his coffee mug. Carter appeared in the doorway. You followed protocol, saved a civilian. That's a win. They knew about my father, about Cisco. Leo's voice was flat. How? I don't know. Carter settled into the opposite chair with a grunt. But whatever they are, they're not bound by the normal rules of anything. They're in the land, in the water. Maybe they're in us too, somehow in our memory. He paused. You'll start getting phone calls. Silent at first, then maybe singing. That's how it works once they've marked you. Marked me. Focused on you. Tried to pull you in. Carter's expression was grim. You resisted, but they don't forget. They'll keep trying different approaches until they find the one that works, or you leave the county. He studied Leo. No shame in leaving. I'd understand. Leo thought about Miami, about the chaos he'd fled, about the girl whose name he still couldn't say out loud. I'm staying. Carter nodded slowly. Then you should know we've got a situation developing. Ana Alvarez, you remember the name from the briefing? Pastor Alvarez's daughter. She's been calling the station. Says she's coming to the church on August 24th, the anniversary of the vanishing. Says she's going inside to bring her father home. Carter's jaw tightened. I've tried reasoning with her, tried threats, tried everything. She won't budge. And Leo, if she goes in there on the anniversary when they're strongest... He didn't finish. What happens? I don't know. We've never had anyone willingly enter on that date, but I know it won't be good. Carter stood suddenly, looking every year of his age. I'm going out there that night officially. I'm ordering you to stay away unofficially. He met Leo's eyes. I could use backup. Leo didn't hesitate. I'll be there. Good. Carter headed for the door, then paused. Get some rest. You've earned it. But rest didn't come easily that night. Leo lay in his bed, listening to the ordinary sounds of his house, the AC clicking on, the creak of settling wood, the distant bark of a neighbor's dog, all of it normal, all of it real. His phone rang at 2:17 a.m. He answered without thinking. Hello? Silence on the line, then faint and far away. The sound of singing, that same hymn from the road, harmonized voices rising and falling. Leo ended the call, but even in the silence after, he could still hear the echo of it. He got up, clipped his service weapon to his belt, and sat in his living room with all the lights on until dawn colored the windows. The protocol sheet from his visor lay on the coffee table beside him. 7 rules that kept him alive. 7 barriers between him and whatever waited in that church. Outside, Palmetto County woke to another ordinary Florida morning. But Leo knew better now. The ordinary was just a mask, and underneath it, something patient and hungry kept testing the boundaries, kept calling out in hymns and whispers, kept looking for a way in. 3 weeks until August 24th. 3 weeks until Ana Alvarez walked into that church. 3 weeks to figure out how to stop her, or, failing that, how to survive what came after. The singing on the phone had been soft, almost lullaby gentle, but underneath it, Leo had heard the promise. We'll see you soon. We'll all see you soon. He clicked the safety off his weapon and watched the sunrise, waiting. August 24th arrived with the kind of oppressive humidity that made breathing feel like drowning. Leo had barely slept in the 3 weeks since Carter revealed Ana Alvarez's plan. The phone calls had continued, silent at first. Then that hymn, always at ungodly hours. He'd stopped answering, but the singing still found him in dream. Carter had tried everything to stop Ana. Legal threats, welfare checks, even a restraining order that the judge dismissed with a sympathetic shake of his head. You couldn't prosecute grief, and Ana's grief was 33 years old, calcified into something harder than bone. They met at the Cattail Marsh boundary at 8:47 p.m. The sun, a blood-red disk sinking into sawgrass. Carter's patrol car was already there when Leo arrived, the sheriff standing outside with binoculars trained on the church. He looked like he'd aged a decade in 3 weeks. She's not here yet, Carter said without lowering the binoculars, but she will be. She called the station this afternoon, said she'd be here at 9 sharp when her father always started evening service. Leo checked his weapon, though he knew bullets wouldn't help. Protocol said the entities couldn't be harmed by conventional means. Still, the weight of the Glock provided an illusion of control. We can't let her go in there. Can't stop her either. Not legally. Carter's jaw worked. She's not breaking any laws. Trespassing maybe, but the church is technically public property. Abandoned, but not restricted. He finally lowered the binoculars. Met Leo's eyes. I've been doing this job for 30 years. My father for 30 before that. We've always followed the protocols, always maintained the boundary, but those rules were written to keep people out. Nobody ever tried to get in before. What do you think will happen? Carter's expression was bleak. Nothing good. At 8:56 p.m., headlights appeared on Sawgrass Road. An old Toyota sedan moving slowly, deliberately. It parked 50 yards from the church, and Ana Alvarez emerged, carrying a bouquet of white roses and a framed photograph Leo couldn't make out from this distance. Even through binoculars, her face was a study in determination and desperate hope. Late 40s, gray threading her dark hair, dressed in a simple blue dress that might have been the same one she wore to her father's memorial service decades ago. She stood beside her car for a long moment, staring at the church. Ana. Carter's voice carried across the marsh. Don't do this. Come talk to us. She turned toward them, and even from 100 yards away, Leo saw the sad smile. I appreciate everything you've tried to do, Sheriff, but I'm done waiting. I'm done with not knowing. If my father is in there, I'm bringing him home. And if he's not, she didn't finish. Just turned back to the church. Ana, listen to me. Carter stepped forward into the shallow water. Whatever's in that church, it isn't your father anymore. It's something wearing his shape, using his voice. If you go in there, then I'll finally have answers. Her voice was calm, almost serene. I was 15 when he vanished. 15. Do you know what that does to someone? Spending your whole life wondering. Every birthday, every holiday, every milestone, he's missing. No body to bury, no closure, just absence. She gripped the roses tighter. I can't live like this anymore. She started walking toward the church. Carter grabbed his radio. This is Sheriff Carter. I need all available units to Sawgrass Road now. We have a civilian about to breach the church. Static was the only response. Leo tried his own radio, nothing but white noise, and underneath it, faint singing. They're blocking us, Leo said. Just like with Jessica's car. They don't want interruptions. Ana reached the church steps. The building looked different tonight. Not just abandoned, but expectant. The windows seemed darker, the white paint somehow more luminous in the failing light. She climbed the steps slowly, reverently, and stood before the heavy wooden door. The door that had been padlocked, shut for 33 years. The door that no one had been able to open. She reached for the handle. Leo held his breath. The door swung inward, smooth and silent as a prayer. "Oh, God," Carter breathed. "It's welcoming her." Warm light spilled from the interior, golden and inviting. Leo could see pews polished and intact, candles burning on the altar, 13 white candles, and standing in the aisle, arms outstretched in welcome, was a man in a black suit and white collar, Pastor Miguel Alvarez, or what used to be him, Mija. The pastor's voice carried across the distance, and it was warm and loving and layered with a dozen other voices speaking in unison. "I've been waiting so long. Come home, Anna. Come home." Anna's sob of joy was audible even from the marsh. "Papa, don't." Carter was already moving, splashing through the cattails. Leo followed, protocols screaming in his head. If you find doors open, do not enter. But Carter was right. They couldn't let her walk into that thing alone. Anna crossed the threshold. Her scream echoed across the marsh, high and terrible and full of recognition. Then it shifted, became laughter, became weeping joy. "I see them. I see all of them. Papa, you're here. You're really here." Carter hit the church steps running, Leo right behind him. The warmth radiating from the open doorway was unnatural, cloying, carrying that smell of old flowers and something ancient underneath. Carter drew his weapon. "Anna, come out of there right now." But Anna was backing deeper into the church, her face radiant with tears and impossible happiness. "They're all here, Sheriff. Everyone from that night. Mrs. Patterson, the Torres family, Deputy Bradley. Her eyes found them. He says to tell you he forgives you, Sheriff, for not finding him. He says he's at peace now." Leo's blood ran cold. Deputy Bradley had been one of the 2 officers lost in the early years after the vanishing. Carter had been a young deputy himself back then, part of the search that found nothing. "That's not Bradley." Carter's voice shook. "Anna, whatever you're seeing, it's not real. They're showing you what you want to see." "No." Anna's smile was beatific, terrifying in its sincerity. "You're wrong. This is real. This is the only real thing I've felt in 33 years. She turned to the pastor, who stood motionless in the aisle. "I'm staying with you, Papa. I'm finally home." Carter started forward, but Leo grabbed his arm. Behind Anna, the church interior was becoming visible. Pews full of people in Sunday clothing, all sitting perfectly still, all facing forward, all smiling that too wide smile. And among them, Leo recognized faces from old missing person reports in Carter's files. The 2 deputies in their uniforms, a woman in a yellow floral dress. "Jesus Christ," Leo whispered. "They're all here." Pastor Alvarez turned his attention to them, and his face, the wrongness of it, hit Leo like a physical blow. The features were right, matched the photo from Carter's files, but the expression was too smooth, too perfect, like a mask that almost fit. "Sheriff Carter, Deputy Ramirez, thank you for bringing my daughter home to us. She completes our congregation. Let her go." Carter's weapon was steady, aimed at the pastor's chest. "Let her walk out of here now. She doesn't want to leave." The layered voices spoke with gentle certainty. "Do you, Anna? I want to stay." Anna moved to stand beside her father, and the change in her was already visible. Her features smoothing, her movements becoming synchronized with the others. "You should stay too, Sheriff. You've been watching us for so long. You're so tired. We could give you rest. We could take away all those years of guilt." The congregation rose as one, that horrible, synchronized movement. They began walking up the aisle toward the door, toward Carter and Leo, not threatening, just advancing with calm inevitability. Warning shots. Carter fired into the ceiling. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Plaster rained down. The congregation didn't flinch, didn't even acknowledge the sound. They kept coming, hands outstretched, smiling. "We should go," Leo said, backing toward the door. "Sheriff, we need to go right now." But Carter stood frozen, staring at one of the uniformed figures. Danny Bradley?" The deputy smiled. "Hey, Jed, been a long time. You're not Danny. You're not... I'm exactly who you failed to find, who you failed to save." The deputy's voice was kind, understanding, poisonous. "But I don't blame you. Stay with us. Join us. We're family here." Leo grabbed Carter's arm, yanked hard. "That's not Bradley." They stumbled backward out the door, and the congregation stopped at the threshold, blocked by some invisible barrier, unable or unwilling to cross. But their smiles never wavered. Anna stood among them now, transformed, holding her father's hand. "You can't run from us forever," Pastor Alvarez called. "We're patient, we're eternal, and you've both been marked. We'll see you again soon." Leo and Carter ran, splashing through the marsh back to their vehicles. Behind them, Anna appeared in the doorway, waving with childlike enthusiasm. "Tell my landlord I won't be needing the apartment," she called, her voice bright with joy. "Tell him he can keep the deposit. I'm home now." The door swung shut. The lock clicked with terrible finality. They reached Carter's patrol car, both breathing hard. Carter leaned against the hood, face ashen. "We just lost her. We drove her right to them. You tried to stop her. We both did. Not hard enough." Carter's voice broke. 33 years of containing this thing, and tonight it won. It didn't just take someone. They came willingly, happily. He looked at Leo with hollow eyes. "What the hell do we do now?" Leo's phone buzzed. A text from his sister in Miami. "Hey, hermano. Hope you're doing okay. Mom wants to know if you're coming for Thanksgiving. Miss you." His hands shook as he read it. The entity knew about his father, his childhood dog, his guilt. It knew everything about him. And now his family was reaching out. Their love and connection, a thread it could follow. He showed Carter the text. The sheriff nodded slowly. "They'll use it. Everyone you care about becomes leverage." He straightened, some of the steel returning to his spine. "We need to figure out what happens now. If Anna's willing entry changed something, strengthened them somehow." He didn't finish. In the distance, the church sat silent against the darkening sky. No lights in the windows now, just a building that shouldn't exist, containing 48 souls who weren't quite dead and weren't quite alive. Leo started his patrol car. The protocol sheet on his visor seemed inadequate now. 7 rules that hadn't been enough. As he drove away, he glanced in his rearview mirror one last time. Anna Alvarez stood in the church window waving goodbye, her smile visible even from this distance. The entity had won, and something told Leo this was only the beginning. The calls started at 2:34 a.m., 6 hours after Anna Alvarez walked into the church and didn't come out. Leo was at his kitchen table, staring at his phone, debating whether to call his sister back or ignore her like he'd ignored the last 3 texts. The entity knew about his family now. Every connection felt like a loaded gun pointed at someone he loved. His radio crackled. "All units, we have multiple reports of pedestrians on Sawgrass Road. Subjects appear disoriented, possibly sleepwalking. Responding officers proceed with extreme caution." Leo was in his patrol car within minutes. Carter's voice came through as he pulled onto the highway. "Leo, don't approach them. Get to the marsh boundary and observe only. I'm 10 minutes out. Copy." "How many are we talking about?" Dispatch says at least 15, maybe more. The Sawgrass Road turnoff appeared in his headlights. Leo slowed and his blood went cold. People walked along the road in their nightclothes, pajamas, robes, bare feet on asphalt, all moving in the same direction, toward the church. Their eyes were open but unseeing, and their mouths moved in silent song. Leo recognized one of them, Jessica Reyes, still wearing her nurse's scrubs, walking with mechanical precision. Unit 12 to Sheriff Carter. "I've got visual on approximately 20 subjects. One confirmed as Jessica Reyes from our previous incident. They're all heading toward the church. Do not engage." Carter's voice was tight. "Park at the marsh and wait for me." Leo obeyed, positioning his vehicle at the cattail boundary. Through his windshield, he watched the sleepwalkers converge on the church. They stopped at the marsh line, perhaps 50 feet from the building, and stood in rows like a choir awaiting instruction. Then they began to sing. The hymn rose into the humid night, voices blending in perfect harmony. The same melody Leo had heard through his phone, had heard in his nightmares, but now it was louder, more real, sung by living throats. The church door swung open. Pastor Alvarez appeared, backlit by golden light, arms outstretched in welcome. "Come home, children. Join your family. Find your peace." The sleepwalkers surged forward as one and hit an invisible barrier at the marsh boundary. They pushed against it, hands splaying on nothing, unable to cross the running water beneath their feet. Carter's patrol car skidded to a stop beside Leo's. The sheriff emerged, took one look at the scene, and swore. It's trying to break the boundary. Anna's entry strengthened it somehow. It's calling them. Can it break through? I don't know. It's never tried this hard before. Carter grabbed his radio. Dispatch, I need Deputy Mills at Sawgrass Road now. Tell him to bring his pickup truck and meet me at the marsh. Sheriff, what are you? We're out of options. Carter's face was set in grim lines. Containment failed. The protocols aren't enough anymore. We have to end this. End it how? Carter met his eyes. Fire. We burn it to the ground. Leo stared at the church, at the sleepwalkers pressing against the invisible barrier, at Pastor Alvarez watching with that too-perfect smile. The congregation won't let us get close enough. They will if we're fast. Carter popped his trunk, revealing 2 5-gallon gas cans. Mills will bring more. We douse the building, light it, and pray that destroying the structure breaks whatever's anchoring them here. Deputy Frank Mills arrived 15 minutes later, his pickup loaded with additional fuel cans. He was in his 50s, weathered and quiet, one of the few deputies who'd lasted more than a year in Palmetto County. He took in the scene without comment, just started loading gas cans into a wheelbarrow he'd brought. You sure about this, Sheriff? Mills asked. No, but I'm out of better ideas. Carter looked at the sleepwalkers. Some had collapsed to their knees, still singing, hands reaching toward the church. We save them or we don't walk away from this. They worked quickly. Leo and Mills pushed the wheelbarrow toward the church while Carter covered them, weapon drawn, though they all knew bullets were useless. The sleepwalkers parted to let them through, still singing, eyes glazed. The original congregation emerged from the church, 48 figures in Sunday clothing, standing on the steps, watching with calm certainty. The woman in yellow stood among them, Deputy Bradley in his uniform, Anna Alvarez holding her father's hand. You're making a mistake. Pastor Alvarez's layered voice carried across the distance. This building is just wood and nails. We're not bound by it. We're in the land, in the water, in the memories of everyone who knows our story. Destroy the church and you destroy nothing. Then you won't mind if we try. Leo splashed gasoline across the church's foundation, the fumes making his eyes water. The congregation watched without interfering. Their confidence was more terrifying than any threat. Mills doused the back of the structure while Carter covered the front steps. Gasoline pooled on the old wood, soaked into ancient timbers. When the last can was empty, they retreated to the marsh boundary. Carter pulled out a road flare. Last chance to stop us. Pastor Alvarez smiled wider. We don't need to stop you. You'll see. Carter lit the flare and threw it. The church ignited with a whoosh that lit up the night sky. Flames raced up the clapboard siding, across the roof, through the open door. Within seconds, the structure was engulfed, fire roaring like a living thing. The congregation stood in the flames, still singing, not burning, not fleeing, just singing as the walls collapsed around them. Jesus Christ, Mills breathed. They're not. The boundary failed. Leo felt it like a physical snap, some invisible tension releasing. The sleepwalkers surged forward, no longer blocked, flooding toward the burning church. Jessica ran past him, her face ecstatic. No! Leo grabbed for her, but missed. Jessica, stop! She didn't even slow. None of them did. They swarmed toward the flames like moths to a porch light, and the congregation on the steps opened their arms to receive them. Then the sleepwalkers surrounded Leo. Hands gripped his arms, his legs, his uniform. Dozens of them, all pulling, dragging him toward the inferno. He fought, but they were impossibly strong, their faces blank and blissful. Leo! Carter's voice was distant. Gunshots cracked, warning shots, desperation. But the sleepwalkers didn't care. Leo was lifted off his feet, carried toward the burning steps. Pastor Alvarez descended through the flames untouched, reaching for him. Welcome home, deputy. We've been waiting for you. Like hell. Mills's pickup truck roared forward, scattering sleepwalkers. Carter hung from the passenger window, grabbing Leo's outstretched hand. Hold on. Carter pulled with desperate strength as Mills accelerated. The sleepwalkers lost their grip, falling away. Leo tumbled into the truck bed as Mills fishtailed back toward the marsh. Behind them, Pastor Alvarez stood in the flames, shaking his head in disappointment. "You can't save them all, Sheriff. Some are already ours." The congregation turned as one and walked into the burning church, not running from the fire, but embracing it, disappearing into the flames, still singing that horrible hymn. The sleepwalkers followed. Jessica was among them, climbing the burning steps with a smile on her face. No, Leo tried to jump from the truck, but Carter held him back. "They're gone. Look at them. They're already gone." He was right. The sleepwalkers walked into the inferno with the same blank joy Anna had shown. The fire consumed them, but Leo heard no screams, only singing, fading as the structure collapsed inward. They watched from the marsh as the church burned to its foundation. The flames reached into the sky, visible for miles. Fire trucks arrived, but Carter waved them back. Let it burn. By dawn, only ashes remained. The foundation stones blackened and cracked. The front steps scorched but intact and scattered in the rubble, melted metal and charred wood. Leo walked through the ruins as the sun rose, searching. His boot struck something solid, a church bell, cracked and tarnished, half buried in ash. He knelt beside it, and something caught his eye. A metal box, fireproof, wedged beneath the fallen steeple. Inside were documents, historical records, a land deed from 1952 showing the church built on a Seminole burial ground, newspaper clippings about the original construction, protests from local tribes, warnings about disturbing sacred land, and Pastor Alvarez's journal. Final entry dated August 24th, 1992. "The storm is here. We pray for protection, for deliverance, whatever it takes to survive this night." "He made a deal," Leo said quietly. Carter joined him, reading over his shoulder. When the storm hit, he prayed for protection, and something old in this land answered. It took them all. Carter stared at the cracked bell. The bell? Every church has one, calling the faithful to service. He touched the metal. "This thing has rung for every service, every funeral, every moment of grief and joy for 40 years before the vanishing. It held all of it, all that emotional resonance. And when the entity took the congregation, it bound them to the bell." Leo understood now. The bell was the anchor. As long as it rang, even in memory, they were trapped here. Over the following months, Leo had the bell metal recast. 47 memorial markers, one for each original victim. Small plaques with names and dates distributed to families across the county. Closure finally for those who'd waited 33 years. The singing faded voice by voice. Over months, the psychic pull weakened. Jessica survived, woke in the hospital with no memory of the fire. The other sleepwalkers recovered too. Whatever had held them released its grip when the bell shattered. Carter retired 2 months later. He came to the station on his last day and handed Leo the Sawgrass Road file. "It's your jurisdiction now. The protocols stay in effect. The land remembers even if the building's gone." Leo took the file, felt its weight. "Think it's really over? I think we gave them peace. The dead can rest now." Carter paused at the door. "But that land is still what it was. Still sacred, still angry. You take the long way around Sawgrass Road at night. You hear me?" "Yes, sir." Now Leo drives past the site regularly. The foundation was bulldozed, the land returning to sawgrass and palmetto. The memorial markers stand at the county cemetery. Families visit them, leave flowers, find the closure they were denied for so long. But sometimes when the wind blows from the south, Leo hears it, faint, barely there, a whisper of melody, an invitation that never fully disappears. The protocols remain clipped to his visor. 7 rules for a threat that's sleeping, not dead. The land remembers, and so does Leo, standing vigil over a quiet that feels less like peace and more like a held breath waiting to exhale.